Welcome back. I'm MTG Joe, and today we're going to be finishing up our series on Ravnica only decks. So cards from the last two sets, Ravnica Allegiance and Guilds of Ravnica. These are more geared towards players who are just starting off on MTG Arena or just don't have a large collection. As you win free packs as part of the dailies and drafts, stuff of that nature, you're likely accumulating some of these cards, whereas you wouldn't have cards from, say, Ixalan or some of the older sets. So the only variants that we are doing is we are including the check lands. So these are they're either called check lands or buddy lands, but they're like Rootbound Crag, Isolated Chapel, Hinterland Harbor. There should be two. I just clicked one by mistake, but we'll just back that out. Um, so the other addition in this deck here is so it's a Gruul kind of mid-range aggro deck. So a lot of our threats come in the 3 and 4 slot. So adding in Llanowar Elf, it's an uncommon from Dominaria. You might have had it from one of the past singleton tournaments that you got the promo arts like I have here. This is a very useful card to getting us into the 3 and 4 drop quicker. So we're playing for the elves, for the Pelt Collectors. So Pelt Collector gets larger as we play creatures with greater power, and then if it has 3 or more 1/1 counters, it gets trample. So this is just a spell that grows as we play out big threats. We're playing out for Kraul Harpooner. So this is a bigger body for 2 mana as a 3/2, and it gives us the option with the Undergrowth ability to fight a creature with flying. So this will deal with any of the drakes, a lot of the stuff out of Mono Blue, Lyra, Niv Mizzet. There's a lot of good flyers in the format. For a deck that normally is weak to flyers, Kraul Harpooner is pretty good. We're also playing 3 of the Zhur-Taa Goblin. So this is a 2/2 Riot that we can either make a 3/3 or make it a hasty 2/2. We're playing 2 District Guide just to kind of bridge us and to get some lands. Um, like I said, we do have a couple higher drops, so we want to make sure we're hitting our land drops. And then the namesake of the deck is Rhythm of the Wild. So this card in creature decks is fantastic. So first off, it makes that our creatures can't be countered. This is very good against control. And then it gives us the ability to give all our non-token creatures Riot. So either make them hasty or put a 1/1 counter on them. So then we're also playing Collision Colossus, just another way to deal with flyers, but also the backside we can pump our creatures and give them trample to get through those last points of damage. One of the mainstays in a lot of my decks, Golgari Raiders, it's kind of a pet card as you can tell by now. So we're playing a lot of creatures. This gets bigger as there's more creatures in the graveyard, and then it's a naturally haste. If we have Riot, we can just make it even bigger. So this is what we can use to like help one-shot our opponent. We have Nullhide Ferox, which is just a big body, has hexproof, or at least taxes them 2 more. This does restrict us from playing non-creature spells, but within the deck we have 8, so it's not a large amount, and we can always pay 2 to get around that ourselves. With Rhythm, you can make this hasty. Playing 2 Sunder Shaman to get rid of enchantments or artifacts. There's a lot of good artifacts and enchantments, mainly enchantments in the format, so this is a way to blow them up in the Gruul colors. And then we're playing 2 Domri, so this can either ramp us into creatures and give them Riot, search for more creatures, or its emblem itself just creates tokens. And then finally in the 5-drop slot we have Skarrgan Hellkite, which 4/4 flyer with haste if we want, 5/5 flyer, and then if we do have a 1/1 counter on it, it can pay 4 mana to deal 2 damage to creatures, or basically any permanent. And then we're trying out a Trollbred Guardian. So this card here is a 5 mana 5/5 that gives our creatures with 1/1 counters trample. So if you have a big Nullhide Ferox, big Golgari Raiders with Rhythm, we can get them to have trample to push through more damage. And then itself it can adapt for 3 mana afterwards. And then the mana base is pretty standard. So we'll give this a shot. As we have with all these other decks, we're playing best of 1. So as we get started, if you are looking for a way to show your support to the channel, if you've been enjoying these gameplay videos for easy build Ravnica decks. The best way to support the channel, especially for free, is to hit the subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner. It goes a long way to helping to build out the channel, and it costs you absolutely nothing. So it's a win-win both sides. And we'll get started now. So we'll keep this hand. You generally want to keep Elf on 1. We can Rhythm on 2, which is exactly what this deck wants to be doing. Pretty much, unless the rest of the hand's absolute garbage, if we can Rhythm of the Wild on 2, especially from what looks to be control, you do so. So next turn, we likely District Guide, so this can be a Fog deck. Ooh, Bant Hero. It's interesting. So here, I think we just go put a 1/1 counter on it, put a 1/1 counter on it, and then we can, if need be, block and give it +4/2. So this is a matchup where having the trample to push through against the tokens will be useful. So the reason we did that, these two, is, and we can play this to hopefully grow it more. However, the deputy gets around that play there. Oh, so they're actually going to go for the Rhythm here. Probably would have gone Pelt Collector, to be honest. So here, I'm going to attack in with both the Pelt Collectors, see if we can get them to block with the Deputy of Detention. They don't, so we'll just play out the District Guide. Get another land. And then end the turn. So the reason we were trying to get them to bait into blocking, so they have Tithe Taker. So here we'll Trollbred Guardian, it'll grow our Pelt Collectors and also give them Trample. So here we'll just attack in. So next turn we can adapt this to 7 power and then also Colossus. They play Amara. This is an interesting variant of the deck. I've seen a lot of Esper, but so here we're going to attack in. We'll see how they block. Not sure why they're not blocking. But we'll force them to have it. We're just oozing over here, trying to get them to play out their turn. So they March of the Multitudes here. That resolves. But they passed through their block stage anyways. They did it too late, so we win. So it's an interesting variant on the deck, but opponent misplayed there. So we'll give it for another shot. So there's some real powerful cards in that deck that we took down. I'd be interested in seeing. They probably play Krasis, Knight of Autumn. There's some good cards in that they'd likely be paying. So yep, again, we keep this. Elf on 1, Rhythm on 2. Domri and Pelt Collector on 3. So we just need to dodge shock here. Perfect. So this might be Esper or Dimir. So they'll probably take Domri here. So we're going to give it haste, play the Harpooner, give it haste, and then just attack in. So a little punished there for playing the Harpooner first. We'll attack in. See if they... Okay, so they do offer the trade. Oh, deciding against it. We'll play out the Pelt Collector. So the reason we're doing this, if they want to wipe the board, we have 4 power plus the Rhythm, so for 5. And they have to get rid of their Thief of Sanity. They clear some lands off the top of our library. We have 8 damage. Waiting on the opponent. Let me know in the comments if you've had any fun Rhythm of the Wild decks. So they're playing a second Thief. We're short a red for Sunder Shaman. So opponent trades here. Just pass the turn. That would have closed the game out. So opponent attacks again. They need at least a blocker. And that is a blocker for sure. Okay. So we're going to give this haste. And they have to block here, and then we win. So this deck, especially, you can see the power of Rhythm of the Wild if you get it out on turn 2. Meteor Golem. So we'll give it one more shot, just so you can get an idea of the gameplay. Played a couple fairly decent decks as well, just in terms of raw power of cards. I know in some of the other videos we played against some more budget decks. So So this should give us a good idea of how the overall games play out. So we are going to be wrapping up this series now until probably the new set comes out. But let me know if there was any cards that we missed out on that you'd be interested in. Here we'll keep. I'm not going to be greedy with Elf on 1. Of note, we're missing a second green for Nullhide Ferox, but we can play Domri. So opponents on Merfolk. Can offer the trade here. Ah, shit. Forgot to play that. It's not the end of the world because we can make it bigger with Domri next turn. Make green mana. Play out the Pelt Collector. Put a 1/1 counter on it. So next turn we can get out a Nullhide Ferox with haste. So this combination is actually really effective. So here they're going to be casting a Merfolk, get a Merfolk, put a counter. Get a Merfolk, put a counter, and then this creates a token which gets a Merfolk and a counter. No blocks right now. They're not killing Domri, so we'll add green. Give it haste. And we'll attack in. If they attack all out on Domri, then I'll just let it go through. Maybe offer just if we can pick off one of their creatures. So River Sneak is actually quite scary if they could start putting counters on it. With this being unblockable. No blocks here. So we'll attack in, but looks like we lost this one. They're too far ahead, and without trample, they're just going to be able to chump block. It's very odd. We'll get rid of the sneak. Play a land and pass the turn. The sneak's one of the ways they just win the game flat out. So it's odd that they would go that route. So they're powering up the dorks now. This is the downside of Gruul when you're not playing any sort of removal. Like you usually want to get the deep root elites off the battlefield early. So they're just pumping up everything. And they go for a big attack. So we'll just block here, but we'll let Arena do the math. Golgari Raiders isn't enough. They have the blockers, so we'll concede. It gives you an idea of the deck itself. you can get out those quick starts. You saw how good Rhythm was in the first two games, and the game that we didn't have Rhythm, how we kind of fell behind. It was against a more aggressive Swarm deck, so that's usually an issue. But let me know what you think in the comments below. And like I said, if you're looking for a free way to support the channel, hitting that subscribe button goes a long way to help. Thanks for watching and have a great one.